All right, let's go. Chapter 14. Oh, I'm so glad you guys can't see me right now. I am. It's after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm in my pajamas still. Yeah, it's pretty depressing being on this quarantine. What are we at day? I don't know what day it is. It's probably 6 weeks into it, and I'm really tired of it. You guys probably are too. But anyways, let's talk about collateral proceedings and writs. Yay! We're going to skip through some of this stuff because I don't think it's important. But anyways, so collateral proceedings refer to those proceedings that are not part of normal judicial process. So these are all kind of random, miscellaneous things that are sometimes dealt with in court. Extradition. Extradition is the process by which a person is brought back to the state or county or whatever, or country of jurisdiction. So, example of that, let's say I killed my husband in Fresno, California, and I fled to Massachusetts. And while in Massachusetts, I get picked up on a warrant because they all know that I am wanted out of California for the murder. So there's a process, a court process that I am entitled to in Massachusetts to fight being brought back to California. I don't have to fight it. If I don't fight it, I'm just extradited. If I do fight it, I have some hearings. But this can mean, we can talk about extradition from county to county, state to state, or country to country. I like to use the example of, what the heck's his name? He's the director who was in California, Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski is a famous director he was in Hollywood. And while he lived in Hollywood, had an inappropriate sexual relationship, I believe, with a 13-year-old girl. And during his trial, he was able to bail out. And in the middle of his trial, he fled to France, where he remains. And this was like 40 years ago. So he fled to France. France doesn't like the United States. We don't get along all that well, and they don't like the fact that we have the death penalty. So France said, too bad, United States, you can't have him back. So that's an example of a country that we don't have a good relationship with, and extradition is not possible. They're going to just keep him there. And he's lived a wonderful life in France, but he can't come back to the United States. But extradition basically is bringing someone back to the county, where they're wanted, or the state, country, whatever, where they're wanted. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Typically, if a person is wanted in California and they are picked up in Massachusetts, ultimately the court is going to order that the person go back. So sometimes the extradition hearing is just something that would a delay tactic. So, and we get a lot of these in our area. We have a lot of, unfortunately, young girls who would who would get picked up in Las Vegas and as human trafficking victims and or prostitutes. So, but yeah, we would bring them back. Already talked about that. Blah, blah, blah. Depends on, our relationship with the country where the person is. Has a lot to do with whether or not they're going to give us back our prisoner back. Writs, basically, it's a court order. You can read that. The great writ habeas corpus. I'm going to talk just for a minute about habeas corpus because a writ of habeas corpus is basically a request made by a person who is confined to force the person who is confining them to explain why they're being confined. Okay, I know that doesn't really sound that clear, but let me explain it this way. Excuse me. If you think of Guantanamo Bay, that's a really good example of where the writ of habeas corpus was important and actually used successfully in some cases for people to get out of custody. But people, if you could imagine after 9/11, there was a lot of basically just kind of fear that there were terrorists everywhere and that everyone wanted to kill all the Americans. So a lot of people were taken into custody. These are suspected terrorists, were taken into custody and housed in an American facility, but not on American soil. They were being housed in Guantanamo Bay. So what was happening there is we were not treating them as if we would treat an American detainee. They weren't having things like court hearings. There was no probable cause. We were just holding these people basically because we thought they might be guilty. Now, were they probably guilty? Yeah, they probably were, but we didn't have proof. So these people started, one by one, filing writs of habeas corpus, asking a judge to order someone, meaning the United States, to show cause why this person was being incarcerated. And sometimes we couldn't do so, and people had to be released. You can imagine what happened. Some of those people went on to lead very productive lives. Some of them did go on to be terrorists and kill some American citizens. But yeah, we have rights. I'm going to kind of skip over this one. Blah, blah. I don't think this is that important either. I really wanted you to kind of know about habeas corpus and extradition from this chapter. That's really it, I think. Yeah.